In 1962-63, I believe that's the year it was, George Wallace stood on the steps of the University of Alabama to stop an effort to integrate that school. And his words were strong there, and they still ring with us now. As you may recall those words, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Now, to me, that was the rantings of a segregationist advocate and lunatic by some standards, but clearly he was a politician in his day. The question is, was that a prophecy? Here we are some 30 years later, fighting a case that's really bringing this question back to mind. We are a segregated society, and therefore it presents a challenge: is how do you have a non-segregated school in a segregated society without violating equal protection and try to meet the needs of diversity? That's the challenge that's before us today. And it's a challenge that's too important to just be resolved here in Charlotte, because what's going on here with Charlotte, like 30 years ago, has importance for the entire nation. And as you remember the words of Malcolm X, those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. And our history shows us that those were difficult times. As you remember, in 1971, a white principal standing on the steps of Oakhurst School on Charlotte's east side was confronted by angry parents who threatened both his life and those of his new black teachers. And that principal was courageous enough to say, "I will protect all my teachers." White parents in that school, Mrs. B in particular, rode the bus out to the northern edge of the city where black children were being picked up, and alarmed parents were concerned what would happen to their children that day. And that white parent assured those black parents that their children would return home safely. Today, a black teacher, now a black principal of that very, very same school, is able to be the principal of a school that she could not attend. And that school has a unique blend of races and cultures and ethnicities and socioeconomic status, and it works. And children come from the neighborhood, and by a magnet program come from the surrounding city. In the new Charlotte, that kind of school may not exist, and that's the tragedy. The key is we have to find a balance. A separatist mentality will take us back to the Old South. And the Old South is a South that we cannot live in, any of us. It took white parents and black parents on both sides of the issue to get us to this point. It will take black parents and white parents on both sides of the issue to get us to the next point. We must appeal this case to give ourselves more time on a practical level, and philosophically it has to rise to the level of the Supreme Court so that we can get national clarity and guidance, because what's happening here is happening in jurisdictions all over America. So since the educational system is a reproductive system of our society, it's how we pass on our values, our best of who we are, and our prejudices, it requires more attention of us than anything else we can muster. And finally, the caveat, the most difficult challenge we have is that many of our decision makers are up for re-election. I ask you to focus not on your constituency, but focus on the entire community. It's precisely for moments like this that you've been selected. So remember, George Wallace said it: today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Don't let it be a prophecy. Thank you very much.